what I want to do is give you a rundown on how this missing link bit works and what it's all about. This is the perfect horse because it's a thoroughbred that had been on a training farm, never raced, but it's been rode off the mouth by a jockey. So I transitioned it into this bit, and then when I got direction figured out, because they don't understand left or right, then I went to the hackamore. But that's another story. The reason I'm talking to you is so that you listen to what I have to say and see what I'm doing, and that'll help you make a decision whether you want this bit or not. The end of the story is that if you're interested in self-carriage, collection, lightness, and you choose to not ride off of a horse's mouth, this bit will work for you. If you haven't achieved that or don't want to, then there's no point in buying the bit. So I'll explain it to you. Now this, you'll notice it's quiet, and if you can hear it, what I want you to listen for is the cricket. So what you do is you have a horse like this one. He's coming 5, or he's 4 now, I guess. You hang it on him and leave it on him. Don't ride him with it. Ride him in the halter. I rode him in a halter for about 3 weeks carrying this bit. The idea was to let him know that he's no longer being ridden by a jockey, and then he's allowed to free up, and he doesn't have to focus on his mouth because I'm not pulling on it. That's why I ride in the halter. Now the halter is placed right here when I'm riding him. So if you have a 2-year-old colt that you just started, what I do is after I rope him and get him going, I ride him for about 3 weeks in a halter before I move on, because I want the basics set up. If it's a hackamore colt, then in 3 weeks I've got enough put on him where I can put a hackamore on him and feel comfortable. If the client wants a snaffle bit coming home, then after 3 weeks in the halter carrying this, they're comfortable with it, and I've got my basics set down, because every time I pull on this halter is one less time I'm pulling on the mouth. That's why I ride restart horses, colts, everything in a halter, even if it's going to be in a hackamore. This is actually the first hackamore. So what you want to do is you want to notice that the horse you put it on, this isn't the first time he's had this on, but when you put it on your horse, they're going to be real busy with it because they're playing with the mouthpiece. So if you have a 9-year-old horse, for example, and you hang this bit on him, don't worry about it. It's going to make a lot of noise. That has nothing to do with the end result. All it has to do with the horse playing with that cricket. And the good news is that they're starting to focus on that mouthpiece, and they're relaxing their tongue and rolling it. So later on, when they connect the dots, they're going to roll the cricket and know that they're not going to feel pain from a snaffle or broken mouthpiece. They're just going to have a bit in their mouth. So that's what I had to make with him, is the transition from the racehorse mentality to the riding horse. If you place your hand on him and just try to get him to relax, that's one of the ways that you can get him to roll the cricket. If you can just get your horse to calm down and move that cricket, they're telling you, okay, I'm starting to feel a little bit better about what I'm doing and where I'm at. So it doesn't hurt anything and you're on the ground, so don't feel, just check this out before you get on, okay? Now I'm going to just ride the horse in the bit to show you how I ride him. Okay, now, 3 things you want to know about this bit is that if you don't hear it, that cricket at all, then your horse is contemplating. It's looking around, it's thinking about something else, it's waiting for the other shoe to fall. If it's non-stop, your horse is bothered, it's nervous, there's something is amiss. If you hear this cricket intermittently, it's doing what it's made to do. Once again, when you're on their back, one of the cheapest things you can do is just place your hand on the neck and see if you can get your horse to roll the cricket. If you can, he's starting to check in and listen. He's not worried about what's going on around him. Now, as you're watching this horse right here, it's a good thing about, a good little note about training a horse. How much of this horse's brain do I have right now? 0. Well, it's no big deal, but when I pick these reins up, those ears are going to move, and I'm going to have this horse check in with me. What you don't do is grab a hold of a horse and start running them backwards when you first get on them. That's a really big mistake. You always walk forward. I've watched people get on horses and back them up. And especially if you don't know the horse and it's a new horse and a new bit, it's a good way to die. Here goes the reins. Horse checked in. I'm going to keep reassuring this horse to tell him, you're fine. Like I said, this horse is a thoroughbred. So what I've had to do, I've had to literally teach him to move laterally and to feel comfortable about it, to walk backwards, which a racehorse doesn't do, you can imagine why, and to carry itself in some sort of frame, as in self-carriage, collection. I use the term collection for a horse going into a frame, and I use the term self-carriage for a horse carrying themselves. Now I'm going to show you. This is not my first ride on this horse. He knows that when I quit riding, he quits moving. One of the keys to owning this bit is so that you listen. This is an opportunity for people that don't ride and haven't ridden all their lives, especially. It's an opportunity for you to listen to a horse talk to you. They'll tell you how they're feeling. Now I'm going to start this horse walking, and you'll see how many steps it takes before the horse rolls the cricket. And all I'm doing is giving you some trivia and some landmarks so that when you're using this bit, it'll kind of make sense to you. The idea is to get the horse moving, and when a thoroughbred moves, they're more relaxed. They're forward. Now I'm not pulling on the mouth, I'm on a loose rein, so the horse has a chance to go ahead and use that cricket. Not any noise at all is better than non-stop. Now, I'm going to ask this horse to walk backwards. Now this is where it starts of collection and self-carriage. Thoroughbred, trained to push on the bit, nose out. I had to transition him into the fact of picking himself up, braking right here at the third vertebrae, getting himself into collection and carrying himself on loose rein. That to me is what I'm telling you about that's called self-carriage. So if you have a 10-year-old gelding that's duller than a rock and you buy this bit, after you've loosened it up and after you walked around, the way to get through to that horse is by walking backwards, because they don't naturally do that. So you pull on this bit as hard as you need to, and the horse moves, and then you give. And usually between 3 and 10 trips back and forth, about 50 feet back and forward, they get it. And as soon as they get it, you better be there to release. If you're not there, then there's no point to this whole story. So when I pick up on the reins and I ask this horse, he needs to put himself in a frame. I'm asking him to walk backwards. If I hear the cricket moving while he's walking backwards, he's not pushing on the mouthpiece with his tongue. He's not defending himself. So he just told me, I can walk backwards, I'm comfortable, I get it, what else you want to do? That's what that means. Asking for backwards, loose rein, cricket. Now I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to raise the level of collection and self-carriage. If I can get this horse to put himself in a frame, plus roll the cricket, I'm on my way. Because he's telling me that I'm fine because you're not pulling on my mouth. This bit is loose enough in my mouth that I can roll the cricket with my tongue. This is very simple logic. You just have to open up your brain and think of it as different than what a broken snaffle feels like. So now I'm bumping and giving it back and putting my horse in a frame. You can hear the cricket. I hope you can hear it. That to me is self-carriage. In self-carriage, I have the opportunity to transition down to a walk, to use my skeleton instead of plow reining like a farmer, I can actually use my skeleton to ride my horse. The important thing I want you to know is that whatever it is you get out of your horse, if it's this slow and your horse yields, and you did it without the horse being bothered, you're actually gaining training your horse. If your horse is bothered when you ask them just to turn by cranking their tail or sweating or slinging their head, you're not getting anywhere. This is done under duress. You might as well be a reiner. This is about a horse doing what you ask and not having any resentment. Once you have a horse to carry itself in a frame on a loose rein, you're on your way. You can do whatever it is you want to do over time. Now, I'm slower than most people. So what? What you'll find that if you have a nice quality ride, it's going to pay off better than a fast wreck. Transition up. The way this bit is designed, there's two things that a broken snaffle does. It does pain and pressure. This bit does pressure. So if you can explain to a horse enough times where they understand the concept of release, then this will work out really well for you. That's the way this actually works, is I'm searching for a float in the rein, the term being release, and the horse doing what it is I ask it to do. So that's a big bridge to cross, and you have to want that for this to work right. Now this is my Hackamore horse.
But you didn't know he was going to be your Hackamore horse at first.
No, I didn't. If I hadn't rode him in the Snaffle and got him away from the racetrack thing and explained to him I couldn't have put the Hackamore on him because he was too strong to it. He was pushing on the bit, see? Some horses are so worried about getting hit in the mouth that when they find out they can play with that cricket, they relax. It's an absolute godsend to them because they feel a lot better about life in general. When they focus on the cricket and find out that it doesn't hurt, when I pick up on the bridle, it's not so offensive to them when I pick up on the Snaffle. So as you'll find out, like I did over the years, is that for colts, older horses, cold-jawed horses, it's worked out pretty well, but you need to make the commitment and understand what you're riding. Now, if you don't know how to ride, like you're a novice, absolutely novice, and if you have a good teacher and you start off with this bit and they teach you well, you'll never know all those bad things everybody else knows. So pick a professional that knows what they're doing and understands the concept of release. Don't buy this bit if you're a novice rider and think that's going to teach you to ride, because that's not how it works. You have to want to and or understand the concept of release, not pressure. And as you notice, the big part is to ride off of your skeleton. This simply means excuse me. The horse moves off of my body, not off of my hands. I cue it through my skeleton. I'm holding it in a stance. It's like dancing. I've got it ready to dance by picking up saying, excuse me, we're about to dance. I keep putting the rein back, as you'll notice, so that the horse can not have to worry about its mouth and listen to my body, which is what it's doing. Now this takes a long time. Well, a lot of people think you need it quicker. Well, that's fine, but it doesn't work that way. It takes a long time. Well, the benefit and the payoff is worth it, trust me, if you like riding. If you don't like riding, don't ride.